Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Community Resilience Project, Families and Distance Learning. To join this webinar using a telephone only, please dial any of the following numbers: 1-888-788-0099, and then slowly enter the webinar ID of 980-9957-6325. Or you can dial one of the other numbers, 1-833-548-0282, and then enter that webinar ID again of 980-9957-6325. As an attendee, your microphone is muted for the entire presentation. We are not taking open mic comments. You do not need a microphone, a camera, or a screen if you only want to listen to the meeting, as this meeting is accessible by landline or mobile phone. The transcripts of this conversation will be available on our YouTube channel in the coming days. If you're joining by computer, you may use the Q&A feature to type your questions or comments. On the attendee control bar, you'll see the Q&A icon. In the lower left corner, you'll see audio settings, and then you'll see Q&A, and then in red letters, you'll see leave meeting. If you're using a mobile device, the Q&A icon may appear near the top of your screen. So in reverse, in the upper left corner, you'll see leave meeting in red letters, and then Q&A over on the right-hand side, and then perhaps 3 dots for more. Once the presentation begins, if you're joining by computer, to see all of the panelists, you may need to use the Zoom control bar and select Gallery View. Depending on the size of your mobile device screen, you may need to scroll over to view whomever is speaking. If you're accessing this meeting via the web browser only, you will not see all panelists at one time, only the panelists speaking. Eric Howard, Assistant Library Director, will now begin our program.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Howard. I'm the Assistant Director of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries, and thank you very much for joining into our series on community resilience. Today, we are taking a closer look at how we can better support families as they navigate distance learning. We began developing this series in the wake of the stay-at-home order, and now we are confronting multiple crises, the fires, and also an economic crisis as well. Like many viewers, I evacuated Scotts Valley. I evacuated with my 2 5-year-olds, my wife, 2 cats, and a dog. And we are very thankful to learn that we can return, though we're going to hold off for a little bit until the air quality improves. The mission of our library is to connect, inspire, and inform. We are working hard to do that. You can find multiple resources on our website to help with managing through the current crisis. And you can also call us and we can assist you with your questions and with downloading a book or a movie or music. And you can still visit us at our curbside locations. To reach a staff member, you can call 831-427-7713. And you can really contact us with any question at all, and we will try to work and find an answer for you. I want to thank our guests today. We're going to get to them in a minute. I've also asked Dr. Sabbah to provide an update on the fires. But first, I want to talk quickly about a program that we have coming up as part of this series that'll be coming up in the next month in September. It's on interdisciplinary perspectives on resilience. It'll be moderated by Professor Mike Rotkin, joined by Professor of History, Dr. Robert Stryer, Professor of Psychology, Dr. Regina Longhout, Medical Anthropologist, Dr. Nancy Chen, and Professor of Politics, Dr. Matt Spark. You can learn more about that on our website. The series has in mind the idea of resiliency, which goes beyond simply bouncing back, but also figuring out what kinds of tools and resources we can take advantage of in our community to come back even stronger. And we're going to get to that more in just a little bit. Right now, we have a panel we are very grateful to have of esteemed guests who are going to help us work through some of these issues today. Joining us first is Dr. Faris Sabbah, who's the County School Superintendent, psychologist Dr. Suzanne Nicholas, and Lauren Fein, who's the Program Manager of the Santa Cruz County children's behavioral health. And we'll invite you at 2 p.m. roughly today to join in this conversation and ask your own questions that we'll try to respond to. But first, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Sabbah to have him introduce himself, but then also to hear an update on how the schools are managing with the most current crisis around the fires. So thank you again very much, Faris, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Eric, and it's really a pleasure to be here today to speak with you. You know, resiliency is something that we think a lot about, and in the educational system, we do our best to create safe environments for our students to help them develop the skills that they need to be successful in life. And that the social emotional learning aspect of education, I think, if anything, our understanding and our appreciation for that continues to get amplified, at least at the level where we see it as important, if not more important than our academic components of what schools have to offer. And that is especially true right now while we're dealing with layers of different crises that our families have been and our students have been experiencing. I want to share just a couple of slides just to share with you some of the things that we've been working on and some of the challenges that our families have been facing, and just give a brief update as to how things are going for many of our students. And here we go. And so, as all of you know, we've been experiencing the fires in the northern part of our county, and those have really had a huge impact with the evacuation of 80,000 people. That's about a third of our families in Santa Cruz County. And so, what we're experiencing, of course, right now is a lot of families that have been displaced. Thankfully, many have been able to begin returning back to school, and so we have displaced staff. Some of our schools have been damaged. The most impacted school districts are Pacific Elementary, Bonnie Doon School, and San Lorenzo Valley. And those schools have been deeply impacted, not only with the displacement of students, but also we're still learning about the amount of damage that has taken place to homes and as well as school structures. Our understanding at this point is that none of the school structures have been destroyed, but we're still not sure exactly what kind of damage they have sustained as a result of the fires. And the most important part, and I think something that is so important to this conversation and why I'm really appreciative that we're having it today, is that the trauma experienced by everybody involved in our school communities is so deep, and in many ways just has really rattled our community in such a way, and really has brought us together to recognize that we really need to be thinking about how to support each other and how to help our students, our families, our staff through these really difficult times. Scotts Valley has been also impacted with evacuations. The evacuation has been lifted and families have already started returning home. And many of our school districts, almost all but one, Pajaro Valley Unified School District, because of the number of people impacted, made the decision to close down instructional programs for this week. Pajaro Valley Unified School District did continue to provide services, and some of the school districts like Live Oak also continue to provide some services online. But most of those services are going to resume, instructional services, except for those three most impacted districts will resume next week. And we recognize we've been working a lot with colleagues from other counties that have experienced fires in the past. And they talked to us about how long it takes really to restore and rebuild school districts that have been impacted. And the psychological and kind of behavioral health aspect of this is really such an important part of that work. We have to be able to provide those resources now. We have to respond quickly, and we have to be able to ensure that we're providing as many opportunities as possible for everybody impacted by the fires to be able to connect and heal and grieve, and to be able, before we can start thinking about getting kids learning again, we really also need to be thinking and focusing on wellness. And so that's a quick overview of how things are going, and why I'm so appreciative that we're having this conversation about resilience and social emotional learning today.
Thank you again very much. And we're going to dive into more of that as we enter into the conversation with the rest of the panelists. But I'd like to turn it over to Lauren to have you introduce yourself. And thank you too. You've provided some slides to help frame the rest of this conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. I'm really thrilled to be here. So as Eric said, my name is Lauren Fein. I'm a program manager at Children's Behavioral Health, and I oversee our community and school-based services. And for our school-based programs, we work closely with PVUSD and the County Office of Ed Alt Education programs, providing behavioral health services to youth who are presenting with severe and persisting mental health needs. So let me just share my screen, my little PowerPoint. So I'm going to talk a little bit about ways how we can promote resilience amidst everything that's kind of going on right now. The pandemic and the fires and the social, like the associated social and economic stressors, can really undermine children's development and well-being. So not only must they cope with major changes to everyday life, such as physical distancing or being displaced, but their families may be struggling to meet their basic and emotional needs. Rates of poverty, unemployment, parental mental health problems, substance abuse, and child abuse and neglect tend to rise during these disasters, and children may not receive the critical supports they need within the community. Oops, this slide. Okay. So ways that we can promote resilience are through protective factors. And protective factors can really buffer children from harm and increase the chances they have to adapt positively to these adversities. Resilience, as was mentioned earlier, is a lot more than just bouncing back. I think it's really important to understand that with resiliency, it requires that we really understand the reality of the difficult situation and the belief that we can overcome them. This is a muscle that we develop. We're not born with it. And like resilience, like trauma, like resilience can also come through ancestral lines and generations. And we need to work to create conditions where people can be resilient and not in creating resilience in people. So I'm gonna look at 5 protective factors of how we can really impact a child's recovery during this time. So the first factor is sensitive and responsive caregiving. This is really a primary factor in a child's recovery. And what parents and caregivers can do is spending quality time with children. This could even be short periods of time, just playing, reading, going outdoors, just to really bolster a child's sense of safety and security during these uncertain times. And it's really important that there's a sense of connection, even when physical separation is necessary for safety reasons. So this could be through online video chats, phone calls, emails, letters, because it allows children to really feel secure and supported. As a community, we can offer strategies and supplies, such as activities, equipment, access to the internet, to allow adults that are maybe not living with the child, such as biological parents, grandparents, providers, teachers, and other professionals, to be able to work with families to maintain those connections. The second factor is meeting basic needs. So I think often what I see happen is, our community's in crisis and we want to give them every resource at the same time. And it's really recognizing a right size approach of really meeting those basic needs first. Working in children's behavioral health, often we're looking through this therapeutic lens and really realizing that until those basic needs are met, families are not even in a place to start necessarily processing or having insight. And so this is essential to protecting children's well-beings. And those basic needs are things like food, shelter, clothing, medical and mental health care. It's really important for our parents and caregivers to know that asking for help is a sign of strength and resourcefulness and not a weakness. And really that they, as a community, we can help them find the right resources they need at the right time. And to reduce barriers to accessing services, such as really being creative in our service delivery options and conducting targeted outreach to marginalized and vulnerable families. So the third factor is emotional support for children. So it's expected that emotional and behavioral changes will occur during a pandemic or a crisis because everybody's adjusting to a change in their daily routines. And some children may show signs of emotional distress. It could be regression in behaviors, clinginess, anxiety. But with really strong emotional support from adults in their lives in the community, most children will return to their typical level of functioning. So what parents and caregivers can do is really focus on the 3 R's. Reassuring children about their safety and the safety of loved ones, maintaining predictable routines such as eating and sleeping, and practicing regulation skills, helping them find time to manage difficult feelings and making time for emotional check-ins, and really trying to prioritize the positive, right? Stories of hope and resilience are really important. They provide a counterbalance to all the negativity and fear that's going on. And this can be through books at your local library or resources online. And as a community, what we can do is really help families access early intervention, mental health programs, connections to teachers, and by offering remote ways of contacting those support people. So the factor number 4 is support for the caregiver. And when caregivers and parents' needs are met, the children are more likely to receive sensitive and responsive care. And so, really, I think a lot of times services are geared towards children, but recognizing that our parents and caregivers need that same level of support and making time for self-care, really hearing that this is a value that's important. Encouraging them to reach out to significant support people such as family members, friends, and religious groups. And the last factor is social connectedness. Spending time with loved ones and friends is really important for both children and adults. And what's really challenging right now is while we can't have in-person contact, physical distancing really should not turn into isolation. And a big risk factor with all of this is that because in-person contact is limited, social workers, CPS, mental health providers, teachers are not accessing children in person. And so there's a huge risk factor for abuse, neglect, substance use, and family violence because the eyes aren't on them in the same way. And children tend to act less frequently with mandated reporters during this time as well, who can maybe recognize something earlier on. And so what families and caregivers can do is to reach out to other families and children to check on their well-being, connect to others in the community through hobbies and opportunities, and to spend time virtually with family members regularly. And that's a little bit of a kind of primer of what we'll be talking about today. So thank you.
That was great. Thank you very much. That did touch on a lot of the questions that I'm going to probably circle back to in different ways later on in this conversation. That really does help frame it. I'd like to turn it over now to Dr. Suzanne Nicholas to have her introduce herself and to listen to what she has to say on this topic. We still have to just have you unmute yourself, Dr. Nicholas.
Okay, I'll see if I can get going again here. Thank you. So, hi, I'm Suzanne Nicholas. I'm a psychologist here in town in private practice. Previously in my life, I've been a high school counselor for Santa Cruz City Schools for 30 years. And I was also on the staff of UC Santa Cruz. So I work a lot with adolescents and young adults, and certainly am talking to them a lot about all the things that are going on right now in our community. Also really want to appreciate the public library for really addressing the idea of resiliency during these times. So important for us and as a community to come together and look at how we can help each other with that. So I want to talk a little bit more about resilience. I really appreciate what Faris and Lauren have already said. They really covered a lot of really important things. And I want to zero in a little bit more on resilience. Because resilience is really the capacity to adapt in a setting of adversity. And our settings right now in our community and in our world are certainly full of adversity. You know, our current situation nationally with the pandemic and, you know, racial and economic strife, inequality, and then our own local issues of fire that we're all very connected to and suffering from, especially you, Eric, with having to move. So those things are challenging both us and our children, and challenging our capacity to be resilient. So I think it's important to look at resiliency and figure out how we help each other with that. Because resiliency, as Lauren pointed out, is really not a trait. It's not something that some people have and some people don't naturally, or that we're born with or we're not. Really important for us to all know that resiliency is a capacity that everybody has to be developed. And we develop that by practice. And practice actually requires adversity. So both small adversity as well as large adversity, we need to practice for resilience. And so we're getting a lot of that right now. And so we want to take advantage of that. And as Lauren said too, resiliency is a muscle that must be exercised in order to be strong. So the more we exercise it, the more we build those skills. And the skills are really some of what Lauren has already talked about as well, but I want to go over 4 of them to talk about for people to just think about as they think about their own resiliency. The first is coping skills. And that's really the ability to face adversity and not be overwhelmed. So, those kinds of skills. Next is self-care. That ability to take care of yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. It can include things like eating healthy, getting exercise, having someone to talk to, being connected socially. Those are important self-care skills. The third one is one I really like, and that is optimism. And optimism isn't really about, I'm not going to think about anything negative. Optimism is really a skill to be able to take a situation that has a lot of adversity and negative and be able to see where there is opportunity and hope in these kinds of hard situations. With having to move with fires and things like that, I've had friends who said, yeah, I took my kids to a place where they had a pool. And so we had, that we got a sense of optimism from, yeah, we get to have some fun right now. So that was good. And then the fourth thing, which I think is probably the most important, is something that we in the psychology world call internal locus of control. And that really is one's own sense of being able to have control or agency and responsibility for things in one's life. We cannot control the fire, but we can control how we react to it, how we take care of ourselves in it, and what we do to protect ourselves and our families. So internal locus of control, that's our sense of our own control in the world. And those are all skills. They're all learned skills. We as adults hopefully have them pretty well set, but we can always learn more. But our children are, those are new skills for them. And they learn them, as I said, through the adversity, but also by our role modeling for them. And that's going to be so important during these times that we're role modeling those things for our children. So, if resiliency is a muscle that has to be exercised, how do we help our children do that? And like I said, we do it mainly by role modeling, and then really speaking to children about how to, how to use those skills. So when we see our children suffering or worrying, or we do things like Lauren talked about reassuring kids, telling them the truth in a way that they can hear it. We can also reframe adversity in a different way for our children to think about. We can reframe that as a way that the adversity that we're currently living with more as a challenge, as opposed to a threat. How are we going to meet this tough challenge today? It's a tough challenge. It's not, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? We're all going to die. It is, how are we going to meet this challenge? And that is really important. And so I think as we move on to talk more about distance learning, I think many parents are very concerned about how are they going to handle distance learning and in the middle of this adversity that we're having. And, you know, so learning to practice these skills of resilience probably is going to help us, you know, as parents, figure out how to have a positive focus and bring that to the prospect that can be very daunting about distance learning for parents. So I hope as we go on, we'll give parents and families more tips on and practical things that they can do to make this a positive experience as much as we can during this time. So thank you.
That was great. No, thanks very much. And I certainly appreciate too the way you framed it around optimism, because the last one that you noted about having a locus of control ties into that. If you can think about how you can contribute to a kind of a hopeful direction, what can you do in your life to kind of manage things down the road? And that's part of this thing that we were trying to capture in community resilience is how do we come back even stronger? And there is science to talk about how if you're thinking about a roadmap for the future, it does help you in the present. And with that, with looking for some of those practical steps, I wanted to see from Dr. Sabbah, if you could kind of communicate to us a little bit about what worked as you were all thrown into this with the stay-at-home order, and what didn't work. And so now you've had some experience obviously doing this, and now we're going back into the fall school year and doing it again.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, we had very little time to prepare for the school closures that took place in the spring, and had a lot more time to process and really study what was it that worked and what was it that didn't work. I did want to share too that the greatest impacts of COVID-19 and fires they really reinforce the inequities. And I have an airplane flying overhead. I apologize for that. But really reinforce the inequities that exist in our society. When I think about basic things that many of our families rely on, like internet connectivity, when I think about our families having, you know, not sure about their housing situation, when we think about going hungry, you know, those inequities that exist in our community, you know, having financial insecurity, those have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 crisis, and of course by the fires as well. And so it is another place where families in greatest need have even more need and have had more difficulty in accessing resources. And connectivity is one of those basic things where about 1 in 5 of our students did not have access to the internet when we first started, when the closures took place in the spring. And so we recognized that having internet connectivity was really important, making sure that we were able to help parents with a lot of support. Parents felt really overwhelmed by their new responsibility, their new role as a learning support for their child to be able to, and then how that impacted their abilities to be able to, when it came to childcare and their work situation. Having ongoing communication, we are now in a place where we're doing daily communication with our families and with our students, being able to connect with them on Zoom or by phone, making sure that we're being really clear, and also having realistic expectations. I think at first we thought we're just going to shift everything online and it's going to work magically. And I think we recognized that those expectations had to be changed and that we had to really adapt to the different learning styles that students had. And I think that our recognition that student wellness and well-being was first and foremost, that we really needed to check in to make sure that students had, that they could access the internet, that they were being fed, that they were safe, that they were doing well, that they had opportunities to access support services. All those pieces have to be in place before we start talking about learning. And I think that one of the things that we worked really hard on is to establish a great network of support with behavioral health services that we're messaging over and over again. And I really appreciated what both Suzanne and Lauren said about making sure that our families recognize that those stigmas of mental health and those stigmas of accessing mental health resources can't get in the way of people getting the resources they need. And so we have been connecting with all our our partners to ensure that our students, our families, and our staff have access to these mental health resources to be able to support them as they work through these different challenges.
Thank you. I'm just picking up on the connectivity issue too. I just want to mention that the library has expanded its Wi-Fi services at all of its branches, and we've also posted online maps where families can find Wi-Fi access in their area as well. So we're trying to create multiple points for families and individuals to connect up. So I wanted to mention, Lauren, or ask Lauren if there are ways that you'd recommend for families to connect for mental health needs, like specifically how they could access that.
Yeah, so I think one thing we've had to do at the county is really get creative about our services, whether it means meeting in backyards and parks, you know, trying to make sure that we're still able to provide a safe, contained environment to do behavioral health services, but also recognizing that so many of these things often happen in spaces that are not appropriate anymore due to COVID. So specifically, they can call our access number, and I can put it in the Q&A, and we can kind of help them get to where they need to go. We've definitely shifted a lot of our services to recognize that we need to meet these basic needs first, figuring out how to connect families to different resources in the community. I would just echo what Faris said is, you know, really realizing how these crises have highlighted already the inequities in our community. And we had a lot of challenges with technology as well. You know, it seemed like the obvious place to go, and we tried to shift it that way, and then recognized how many families didn't have access to Wi-Fi, or if they had access to a device, it was their Chromebook through school that wasn't necessarily prepared to handle HIPAA compliant, you know, services through the county. And so it really just highlighted those inequities of even being able to get in touch with families. So we've tried to work with families of just seeing where can we find free Wi-Fi, where can we get them extenders or, you know, modems or whatever technology they need so they can access the services. I think another piece I'll just add to that is we also have this technology curve where so many of our students are so adept at technology and their parents aren't. And all of a sudden these families, the parents are thrown into these roles where they have to be tech experts where they weren't before, not just for school, but even accessing services and accessing different platforms. And, you know, we've had some pretty savvy kids say, oh, well, we can't access that psychiatry appointment because the parent didn't know how to access it. So I think, you know, it definitely runs on many lines of the disparities around technology. But I can post that number in the Q&A for our families. That
would be great. Yes.
If I could just add one more thing, I did want to share that since we're talking about technology, we did start with you know, one in 5 of our students not being connected, but the school districts really stepped up also and then we kind of launched a digital equity initiative to try to get as many folks connected. I think in terms of devices, I would say that I'm pretty confident that we do have every student in the county has a device that they need, and if they don't have one, we can get one very quickly. The challenge really is that internet connectivity. And I think we're down to about 8% of our students that don't have that at this point. And sometimes because we give them a hotspot, but the hotspot doesn't work, or there's, you know, they have the technology resources as Lauren is sharing, but they're not exactly sure how to use them. And so we still have a lot of work to do to support them, but it's still an important piece. And now, you know, connectivity is a lifeline. It's not only about learning, it's about all these other resources as well. I just wanted to add that.
Oh, thank you. That's critically important. And then I also just wanted to see, there's been, universities have used online platforms for some time, but now this has become the big question of the social aspect that's so crucial, particularly for the younger children. We have 2 that'll be starting kindergarten when Scotts Valley comes back online in a week. And that's something we've all seen on the news around how, you know, small children are sort of having almost little breakdowns with so much pressure on their shoulders, trying to figure out this new medium, and then they're missing out on that social experience that's so critical, particularly in kindergarten and first grade. What kinds of things can we do to support them, and what things have changed since the spring, that you may introduce in the fall to help support that kind of social piece?
I think one aspect that you'll see differently, and some of it is required by the state and some of it is just being implemented, is a lot more synchronous learning, meaning live instructional services being provided by teachers, and a better use of the technology, like using Zoom or Google Hangouts or Google Meets connectivity. And so I think that, my kids are doing distance learning as we speak, and they're spending about, I would say, between 2 and 4 hours a day with live instruction, connecting with other students and participating. So it feels a little bit more like a regular classroom, and that whereas we were moving towards a lot of asynchronous instruction where it's stored videos and stuff, and then people working independently. And I think that does give a much better opportunity for students to interact with each other. It gives an opportunity for teachers to connect with each other. And it also, I think, provides a richer learning experience for students. And I also, as Lauren, online services a lot more. I think you have speech pathologists who are now connecting. You have special education teachers who are connecting online, and of course you also have therapeutic support that is being provided remotely. And so I think we've gotten better at using those connectivity tools to be able to continue to connect with our students.
Thank you. And I just wanted to see too if Dr. Nicholas or Lauren, you have thoughts around helping to manage that piece that is in some ways missing now, where they're able to socialize with their peers, and suggestions that you may have around that aspect.
Well, I would say, I work mainly with adolescents and young adults, so high school and college students. So I have that perspective that I can talk about. And as I've talked to them about this sort of new reality that they're dealing with, they're certainly missing the in-class aspects, but exactly as Faris was just talking about, the importance of actually having class online where they can talk to their fellow students and talk to their professor has made such a difference in comparison to what happened in the spring, where there was not as much of that happening. That shift to that has made a huge difference in terms of students feeling more connected and also feeling more motivated, because I think that's been one of the issues, is that it was hard for students to feel motivated to do the work, to be excited about what they were learning, because they weren't getting that immediate feedback about things. So getting that immediate feedback has made a huge difference. And then I would also say, in terms of connectivity, not having to do with school, I know sometimes parents get concerned about how much their kids are doing social media and also gaming and things like that. And so certainly we want to monitor that in terms of the things that we know about, the dangerous things that can happen on that. But I also really want to caution parents to not sort of shut that down too much, because that is how kids are connecting. And if they if they're connecting safely with a friend group, that's wonderful. And I also have a lot of both high school and college students, primarily boys, who are doing gaming online. And sometimes parents get concerned about how much they're doing gaming, but a lot of gaming is about kids talking to each other. And so I've noticed for some of my clients that's a really important connection for them. So, keeping those kinds of things going. Thanks.
Those are really good observations. Thank you.
Yeah, I can just add, we're always trying to figure out or find opportunities and the silver linings. And in the past, we've tried to do groups in schools, and it's really challenging when you have a few kids in each school. And now with being able to do telehealth or whatnot, we're able to provide virtual groups, which eliminates the need for transportation, eliminates the need for logistics of kind of the organization, and really trying to use a very simple group, social skills, really not trying to get into anything too deep, considering you just never know who's in the next room, or who knows who and who could be listening, but to provide opportunities for youth to engage socially. Obviously, it doesn't take the place of being in person, but just seeing it as an opportunity. And the other thing I would say is I've seen some families create isolation pods of, you know, maybe 1 or 2 families they feel safe within the community, that they've all really agreed to who they're going to hang out with and who they're not, you know, and to keep each other safe. And we'll all get together and their kids will do distance learning together. And so I think that's another way that I've seen people try to overcome our current challenges with socializing.
Those are great examples too. Thank you. And just kind of coming back to building that resiliency muscle. I know with our kids, their favorite thing at night after we read them stories is the mistake time. And my wife and I share mistakes that we made, and they look forward to this. And we've gotten to the point where we have to start inventing mistakes. I mean, I've got plenty, but there's some that aren't appropriate for 5-year-olds. And so I'm wondering if you have other suggestions that we can do to help build that muscle, the resiliency muscle. Yeah.
There. I'm in trouble with that button. You know, one of the things that I've worked with families with recently is in terms of structuring the day, to really start off with something kind of a ritual, kind of like your end of the day ritual that you do, Eric, which sounds, I love that. One of the things that I've been having families do is a ritual in the morning of saying, you know, kind of either drawing or saying or writing something that maybe they're grateful for, you know, or excited about in their lives. Could be just a small thing. And then just one thing that they want to make sure they do today. So that keeps that focus and keeps it starting out positive. So I think that the importance of starting out the day positive instead of chaotic and worried. So that's just a little tip that I've seen with some of my families that have worked really well.
No, that's great. Thank you. And I wanted to see from all of you something that you maybe have learned out of this crisis. Something that since the stay-at-home order went into effect, now with the fires, is there something that you're looking at a little bit differently, the way that we're operating in our county and with our schools and with our families?
I'd like to share that how it inspired I have been when it comes to the coming together of the different organizations and government, nonprofits, and private and just families in general. It's been really inspiring. I got to be a part of a community meeting yesterday for Pacific Elementary up in Davenport, and the way that community has come together to support each other. Many families who've lost their homes. It's just really, really inspiring. And I think about the kinds of resources that have taken place that have come together through all of these different, with the Sheriff's Department working with County Behavioral Health, our health agency, and Dr. Newell working with the schools. Just the amount of collaboration that has come together. I got to see the volunteers that are working at the overflow warehouse for the fires here in Watsonville. It's just really inspiring. And I think that the amount of resources that we have, both individually, the strength that people bring is so powerful. And when we share that strength and we support each other through the tough times, through the traumatic experiences, it really, I think we saw community coming together, community in action in such a beautiful way. And it is one of those silver linings that really manifested as a result of both fires and COVID-19. And I think that it gives me so much hope for our future as a community, and seeing that, knowing that we're working so hard to create those safe spaces and those supported systems for our children and for our community. Just gives me motivation to keep on working and supporting and creating those collaborative relationships.
Absolutely. Lauren.
Yeah, I think for me, I've just really been inspired by families. Obviously never wish this to ever happen, but it's forced families to slow down, families playing games together, kind of forcing have to be together in the same place and not running around, and life just slowing down, just provided some really beautiful opportunities for connection that I think, due to technology and just how fast-paced our culture was, we were kind of getting away from. I think a challenge that's really come up for me is, I think there are so many resources in our community, but I recognize for families, I think it's really, despite all the efforts, you know, that I personally have been a part of and other people have been part of, I still think it's really hard to navigate and to find what you need when you need it, because it's just, there's so much, which is a good thing. But I think it means that it just makes it, I imagine, for families very hard to navigate, to find what you need when you need it.
Yes.
Yeah, and what I've noticed in my work and talking with colleagues as well, and also thinking about this in terms of schools, is what we're doing with online learning and teletherapy, which is what I am now doing. You know, in many ways, it doesn't work as well as what we were doing before. But in some ways, we're learning new things about using technology that we had never really done before, and developing some exciting new strategies for different ways of learning and also different ways of doing therapy. And so I am hoping that as we move forward and these crises subside and we go back to some of our normal ways of being, we can also keep these new learning technologies and these new therapeutic technologies, online things, because I think for some people that allows them to have more access than they did before. Just from my own personal experiences, I have more people coming to therapy and keeping their appointments now than I did previous, partly because things are so chaotic and hard right now. People want to come to therapy, and I'm really glad that they're doing that. But also, too, some of the barriers of I missed the bus, you know, I couldn't get my mom to drive me, or, you know, all different kinds of things about getting to an actual office or getting to school, because I know in my work in alternative ed, that was very often an issue for students, about just access to get to school. So I think if we can keep these and add them to our other strategies, I think that's really a wonderful thing. And so it's an interesting thing for me, because I certainly wasn't happy about doing online therapy, but I've adjusted to it and started to recognize the positive aspects of it.
The same for the library. We're learning new ways to do programming. And we certainly miss having people come into our buildings for, as I know all you do too, but we are also learning new skills and new ways to connect with people. Along those lines, I wanted to ask, what are some things, thinking long-term, that we need to do in our community to improve our situation so that we can start to really address, and you've mentioned some of these, Dr. Sabbah, around the inequities, but really building resiliency is about addressing those very basic things that Lauren mentioned at the top of her program that we need. We can't really think about too much else unless we have some of these foundational things for health and safety. What are some things that we need to start doing as a community to begin to address some of these inequities?
I guess I can go first again. I think that, you know, when I think about school systems, and we talked a little bit about how to kind of really continue that focus on social emotional learning and wellness as a highest priority. I think that investment in time and resources is really important. And I think setting up regular schedules and structures to help provide stability and a semblance of normalcy for our students and our families is really important. There's so much that feels like there's a lack of structure and chaos, that as much as we can be part of that stabilizing force in that place, because a physical aspect of what schools represent is a safe space for students, the connection, the networks, we have to now kind of replace them with virtual ones. And that, I think, if we can help make that transformation complete, I think that it can create a real stabilizing impact. And I think that, you know, what I believe is that some of the long-term impacts of this crisis and kind of the virtualization of education is that we're going to be better at adapting education to the needs of students, as opposed to trying to make students adapt to how schools are set up in rows and, you know, kind of more traditional educational structures. I think being able to be more flexible with them in terms of figuring out what exactly their strengths are, what are the things they need support with. And then I think, again, you're going to be seeing a lot more focus on that social emotional connectivity and learning that's taking place. And you'll see more of that training as a requirement for teachers. You're going to see a bigger focus on social emotional learning as a long-term aspect of what schools represent. And I think that I also believe that relationship with families is going to get closer. I think that seeing them, recognizing them as true partners in this process, not as kind of my turn, your turn, but really as seeing it as more of a continuum. I think that teachers have developed a deep sense of appreciation for the role of parents, and parents have developed a deep sense of appreciation for teachers through this process. And I think that's going to help to continue to create a stronger community, a learning community for our students.
Very well said. Thank you. But I don't know if yeah, Lauren.
I can. Yeah, I would just echo the parent engagement part. I think as a system, Children's Behavioral Health in the past has had challenges sometimes accessing parents or getting them engaged in treatment. And I think through this process, you know, it's been an opportunity to strengthen those connections, and I hope that they continue. I think it's also, you know, like Dr. Nicholas said earlier, it's really forced our industry to get with the 21st century technology wise. And, you know, my hope is down the line that this isn't the only delivery services through telehealth, but it means it is another option on our menu. I think the county still has work to do as far as making our services more available at alternative hours. I mean, we're typically a 9 to 5 organization right now, and I'm hoping through this process, it allows us to expand that and be more flexible to meet the needs of our community. Yeah, and I think, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I wanted to also talk about, you know, the excitement of what Dr. Faris said about, or Dr. Sabbah said about, you know, the increase of social emotional learning and our focus on that, because that is, you know, that's such an exciting thing for me as a former high school counselor and now as a psychologist in the community. As if we can continue to work on destigmatizing mental health and families seeking out help when things first when they first start having trouble, and in fact, if we can do all kinds of preventive work, so we don't have to have those other resources used as much. So I think the schools play such an important role in that, because both students and parents and families have access to schools, and they feel more comfortable in talking with schools about mental health issues than they do maybe seeking out mental health in a more medical setting. So I think the schools are leading the way in social emotional learning, as well as mental health care, and really normalizing the importance of making that a priority. So I totally appreciate his words on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just to add one more thing too, I think it's important, and I see some questions in the chat about when students come back. And we've received guidance this week from the California Department of Public Health that is giving us some framework to be able to bring students back in small groups, especially students with high needs, whether it's special education students, language learners, students who are experiencing mental health challenges. And we are concerned about the ability to do kind of a testing for staff. That's kind of a requirement for a lot of the work that is to make sure we have the capacity to, part of our keeping people safe is to know that that people don't have COVID. But I think that we're going to be seeing a lot more of in-person, either individual services and small group services. So it's really going to be happening, I think, as we work on building up some of the capacity and the safety measures. Those things are going to be happening soon. And so we have to be prepared for that. And I think there's going to be opportunities for us to connect with students in person in the near future. And so it's definitely something that we're looking at and figuring out how we're able to provide those services in a safe way, and which students should we prioritize first to bring back in small groups.
Oh, thank you. That's sounds very helpful. I wanted to ask all of you if there's anything that you wanted to add before we look at the Q&A. I just took a peek at it, and we've touched on a lot of the questions in there already, but we'll go through them. But before we move in that direction, is there anything that you wanted to add on this topic of community resiliency and what we can do to support families during this time? You've given us a lot to think about already. So we can move in. Yes, sure. Thank you.
So I just wanted to note, and it's not a hopeful note at this point, but there was a recent survey that was conducted, actually nationwide, but in California as well. And it was conducted between April and July of this year. And what we found is that 44% of the respondents talked about levels of worry, anxiety, hopelessness, helplessness that would fit a diagnosis of either generalized anxiety disorder or major depression. That's huge and very worrisome. The same survey last year had 11%. So from 11% to 44%. That was a survey done with adults, not with children. But what we did find in the survey is that the younger the respondents were, the higher level of concern and worry and helplessness was happening. The older they were, the better. So perhaps the more resilient they were. And so really emphasizes the importance of working with younger people on resilience. It also emphasized things that, of course, we already know, that the more economically disadvantaged someone was, the higher their level of distress. The report I saw did not break out for ethnic diversity, but from other studies, we certainly know that that is certainly, those issues would also cause for higher levels of distress. So it's just, I think we could actually call it a mental health crisis that we're going through right now. And so doing things like really addressing mental health, both in schools, through the county that Lauren's talking about, and just in general in our community, being aware of those issues, being aware of the importance of caring and kindness for each other, I think is really important.
That's something that we often talk about in our staff meetings is just kind of managing everyone's expectations and trying to give everyone a little bit of grace, including yourself. But we've talked about that, how we're seeing people, they're not always being themselves because everyone's carrying this cognitive load that's so intense right now with so much uncertainty. And I think a big protective piece to this is just affording people a little bit more grace than you would have otherwise. This has been a really wonderful conversation. I'm gonna just take a peek at the Q&A here. Like I said, we did touch on a lot of these. There were questions around county-wide free Wi-Fi. I don't know for sure if the county is looking at that, if the library is working to expand its Wi-Fi reach from its libraries, as I mentioned. One question is, I'm curious what opportunities exist for young kids to connect with each other in person. Lauren, you had some good suggestions around pods. My family has done that as well. And to try to do it in a COVID-safe way, we go outside, we still have the kids wear masks, but it's always with the same group of kids, and it's only a handful, so that they can at least see their buddies from preschool. And because we know that that is so important. There's another question here: where or how does creativity / imagination fit in the role in resiliency? Can you provide some practical examples? That's a really interesting question.
Sure. I think it's a great question, and I think that one of the things that we learned from the Paradise Fires up in Butte County was they launched something that we were going to be launching here, which is an opportunity for students to use art to express how they're feeling. And part of social emotional learning is helping people, kids or adults, to be able to really understand how they're feeling and where they're at, and really get in touch with having a really good sense of self. And sometimes art is the way to go. And so one of the projects we're hoping to launch is one where young people are able to tell us where they're at, how they're feeling, and use the arts for that. And I think that I'm seeing a lot of pretty wonderful programs that are still implemented virtually at distance in schools as part of the school day for students. And so music and other kinds of visual and performing arts are still happening in this virtualized environment. And I think that it is, art, this kind of concept of using art as a mechanism for healing, I think is also something I'm really excited about. And I'm sure Suzanne and Lauren would know a lot more about it than I do, but I think it's something that was implemented over there, and it's something we'd like to see over here.
I think it's a brilliant avenue to go, and that really touches on that question really, really well. Certainly art helps us make sense of what's going on and what we're thinking, and can't always bring out consciously. So that is a fantastic tool.
And I would just add to that, I think, in addition to art, depending, developmentally especially, play, dress up, role play, any of these things is an avenue for kiddos to really process and work through what's going on for them, often when they're not in a place to maybe express those things verbally. And while it's great if it's happening in schools, it can happen in your homes, just creating that space, providing those resources for kids to really just use those avenues. And typically they'll kind of gravitate to those things themselves. I think along with that is, parents explaining what's going on right now in a developmentally appropriate way is really important, because often kids will go to far off places without some sort of parameters of what really is happening, and sometimes it's a lot worse than maybe the situation might call for, but that could be a precursor to the play or the art to kind of express what's coming up for them.
Oh, that's great, thank you. We had some more questions around the Wi-Fi. What kind of advocacy is happening to expand it? I don't know if anyone has any information on that.
I do.
Yeah.
So we launched a digital equity initiative, and we formed partnerships with all the school districts, as well as some kind of corporate partners like Cruise.io. So one layer is to get hotspots to everybody, but the goal really is broadband, right? It's 25 megabits per second. That's you can't get that on a hotspot, and that's for you to be able to get access to content, video content, and other high bandwidth content in a quick way. Not only for the student, but for the family, because more than one device. We want them to know there's no reason why in Santa Cruz County why anybody would go hungry with amazing organizations like Second Harvest Food Bank. But if you don't know about where the location is, you're not going to be able to get those services. And so we are working with these organizations. We've set up a lot of these public location Wi-Fi locations all over the county. Some of them tapping into the school system Wi-Fi, but we recognize that we need a big investment in infrastructure. that really the only way we're going to address this divide in a meaningful way and get broadband to everybody would be to increase the amount of broadband opportunities that are available in a public sense, so a public broadband initiative. And that takes a big investment in infrastructure, and it's something that we are working on, but we're going to be looking to raise funding for that because it's going to require a big investment. Until then, we're going to try to get to 100% connectivity with the slower speeds, and then move towards that higher broadband connectivity, and also make as many of these locations accessible that do have broadband Wi-Fi available for our families.
That's great. Thank you. I'm going to read off a few more here. We've found Minecraft and other video games to be immensely supportive in our family. We made a quote requirement that the kids need to be playing and talking with a friend they know in real life, not just zombie-like YouTube video watching. It's really been positive. Lots of laughing, and the friend groups are growing. We aren't able to do the germ pods due to being in high-risk groups, but this has been positive. There's a really good suggestion there. Is there anything that the County Office of Ed and schools need as physical donations that the community can help provide besides free Wi-Fi? What do the three of you see as a need?
At this point, I think that we've been looking at trying to help families that have been displaced as a focus. We recently had a Stuff the Bus activity where folks made donations, and then we used the funding to purchase school supplies, to fill backpacks to give to young people that needed it. At this point, I think that we are looking at creating some easier ways for families. We've been sending folks to provide donations to Santa Cruz County Community Foundation because they have a really great system to get resources out there, and so that's usually who we recommend families who want to provide donations to help. But there's a lot of organizations like the Red Cross and other organizations that would be could benefit from that. I think that in terms of kind of fundraising activities that we're doing, we don't have any of them launched right now because we're channeling everything to the Santa Cruz County Community Foundation that are helping displaced families. But thank you so much for your willingness to support us.
Yeah, no, I also just wanted to add, we have posted on our website a number of places that you can give, including the Community Foundation that's helping to support different organizations throughout our county. And there's also a link there to volunteer as well. So let's see, looking through some of these others. Many of our kids with IEPs also have health-related issues and/or anxiety and depression. Feeling pressure to send them back into schools as the first cohort is quite scary for us. I'm wondering if this has been considered, or if them getting back in for testing, et cetera, is coming from the state.
So I don't think there's a lot of pressure from the school system to bring all students back. And I think that parents are, when we do begin opening or bringing students back for in-person instruction, I think parents are going to hear the message that they have a choice. They'll be able to continue with the kind of the distance learning connection kind of modality, but I think that we recognize that connectivity, as we've talked throughout this conversation, that social, interpersonal, those pieces can really be enhanced in person. But parents will have a choice to be able to say, no, for now, I'm not ready, and I want to wait until the situation in terms of the disease and the systems to make sure students and families are safe are in a better and are even more evolved than they are right now. And so I don't know of any school district is saying that I'm going to require people to come back to school, students to come back to school if parents don't feel like they're ready for that.
And then there's another question that I missed here. I'm sorry, but how might this renewed focus on resiliency be delivered when students are allowed back on campuses?
Well, how I think that is part of the conversation we all chipped in and shared about how there is going to be a greater focus on social emotional learning. And I think that the recognition that trauma is not just something that is resolved and goes away. It's something that we carry with us, and it's part of who we are. And I think that these resources, the destigmatization of mental health services and behavioral health services is really important. I think that needs to continue. I think we need to also create opportunities for peers to support each other in a safe way. I think that kids are hungry for getting back with each other, but I also think it's going to take some time to rebuild relationships. And my son doesn't, feels like he doesn't know anybody at his new high school. He's a freshman at Watsonville High School, and he hasn't had the opportunity to make friends. And so I think we're going to have to really work on building those relationships in an accelerated way, and to really protect those safe spaces. I think it's really important. Just like we've had some negative experiences with Zoom bombing and people misusing the technology, I think we want to make sure that as much as possible, our students who are vulnerable, coming from the experiences of feeling isolated, and that we create opportunities for them to connect safely for them, so they can bring their whole selves to school. That regardless of how they identify themselves or how they see themselves, that they know they belong, and that these schools are their schools, and that they're amazing and beautiful and whole, and that these spaces belong to them.
I also want to, commend Faris for his leadership around social emotional learning, and coming from the County Office of Education, that's really important. That the county is our leader in education, and what I've seen over these last years is that focus on social emotional learning, and we have amazing personnel in our schools, amazing counselors who are so caring and so skilled, as well as teachers who are also caring and skilled and actually need more support on providing those social emotional learning opportunities for kids as well. As I've been talking also to teachers recently who are back in school or back online doing work with kids, I'm hearing that teachers are also getting that message about checking in with kids more, about really addressing the social and emotional learning first. Before getting into academics. We used to say, you have to reach them to teach them, and if they're not present emotionally, they're not going to learn anything. And so it's so important. And schools are big organizations, and they have a climate, and really what we're talking about is changing climate of schools to really make it more inclusive, friendly, kind, and caring. And that really comes from both the top as well as from the kids up. So, and also families, pushing for that. So I really want to encourage people to continue to push for that, because we don't have that, then we don't have a good educational system, because as I said, they have to be present emotionally in order to learn. So thank you, Dr. Faris. Dr. Faris, really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your leadership. And also for your time. You've been very generous with your time today. I'm just going to look at it, just a few more questions, and then I know you all have a lot of commitments. We have to let you get back to those. We could keep having this conversation. There's so much to dive into. I'll read a couple comments and questions here. We have a comment: the local resource and referral CDRC is offering regular workshops for family child care providers and teachers on resiliency online, which I found very useful from one participant. There's a question: if a young child needs tutoring with reading, how can this be provided at a distance? Do you think it can be done effectively via Zoom?
I think I absolutely believe it can, and it's happening right now. Many of our school districts have amazing support staff, classified staff, that are providing that kind of support. It is one of those areas where the inequity kind of does manifest in that families that can afford hiring people can do so, and our families that don't have the same resources aren't able to do that. But I think that I think those kinds of services are definitely we've gotten better at being able to deliver services through Zoom and in a virtual environment, and I think that's we'll be able to continue to do that. I was a part of a math festival that we organized where students had virtual rooms working on problem solving, and so the things are, I think the tools are there, and I think that out of necessity we're having to really embrace many of these tools and to think creatively and differently, and I think that allows us to do things really effectively and maybe not as well as it would be in person, but pretty close.
Thank you. And there's one for Dr. Nicholas. How do we help support teens, especially those in new schools? Are there any books or videos you found particularly helpful for their particular age group?
Okay, I'm going to get that unmute thing going there. You know, yeah, teens and adolescents are their own animal with their own needs, as most of you know. You know, adolescents are really going through a wholesale like resolution of everything, a whole renovation in their lives, in their brains during adolescence. And so there's a lot of new things happening for them. I think, you know, they're dealing with things like, you know, figuring out their own identities, figuring out how like intimacy works, figuring out how can I be independent, but I don't want to be too independent. And then there's the important piece of it about impulse control. So those are really like kind of like big things for adolescents. And the essential things for parents to know, I think, are the importance of being curious about your adolescent and really listening. And very often we'll, you know, when kids come home, we'll say, oh, how was school? And we'll kind of just halfway listen. So this is really like sitting down and being curious, because kids really won't tell us too much unless they really think that we're listening. I have never talked to an adolescent who doesn't say to me, my parents don't listen to me. Now I know that his or her parents do listen to them, but that's how adolescents see parents. They don't think we listen. So the importance of putting things down, putting the phone down, putting work down, and really setting up like regular time. And we can do this now because we're home more with each other. So sitting down for regular sessions, and you can do that as part of your scheduling during the day. Here's what we're going to, oh, here's our time together where you get to talk and ask each other questions. So really being genuinely curious about what's going on in that kid's life and just listening without judgment. Oh, really? Tell me more about that. Those kinds of things. So that kind of support, I can't tell you how important. More than any, adolescents see their peer groups, of course, is very important, but truly the most important person people in an adolescent's life are still their parents. So being able to be there, really knowing your kid and knowing who they are and, you know, what their needs are and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not sure that answers the whole question about how to support them in school. Certainly getting to know who their teachers are, getting to know who their peers are, who their peers' parents are, all those things, so you can coordinate those kinds of things. So if you do have a concern, you can check in with people that you've already got a connection with.
Very good advice. And there was a comment there too, which I should have jumped in around the online tutoring. The library, long before COVID, has been offering a service called Brain Fuse, which provides free tutoring for children, and it's worked very successfully. And it also provides resources for adults too, who are trying to advance their career or go back to school as well. I want to thank Lauren, looks like you have something you want to say.
I was just going to add on that. I just saw that Digital Nest, which is a nonprofit in Watsonville, is doing small group tutoring as well in person. I think they have some safety protocols around that, but I just saw that they're opening up to do more tutoring as well to support students. So just want to put that plug out there.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you again very, very much. You've been very generous with your time. This has been a great discussion, some really good advice, and we'll continue this conversation online as well. We're introducing a new blog, so we're going to dive deeper into this topic and others. So please visit us online, call us. We have curbside service still going on, so you can get, if you're uncomfortable downloading an ebook, you can call us and learn how to do that. Or if you want to visit us at our curbside locations, you can pick up a book there as well. So thank you again very, very much. Take care.